I will. So I'll just start by saying, and thanks for coming on, Brucey, because I've been out here for about a year and a half now, and you've been back for probably about a year or so.
Yeah, not quite. After the trip from Tassie, we got back last May.
Just
and then we had another couple of months away in September through to November. But
that's right. So you've sort of been in and out, but you've I've gotten to know you as I've been here. And
I'm the local garbo, mate. You know. So
that's right.
I like to
get around.
I just like to be neighbourly and sort of kick it off with taking out the neighbours' garbage, and then all of a sudden, g'day mate, well thanks for doing that sort of thing, So you sort of, either the bloke tells you, like, leave my stuff alone.
Yeah. Surely you'd think they wouldn't, but no, some people,
just
I suppose.
Just people, So, and as I say, I did that, and all of a sudden, thinks, thanks mate, thanks for doing that. You didn't have to. No, it's all neighbourly, mate. That's what neighbours are about.
Look, it made my day when I first come home, and I thought, someone's brought me bins in. I'm pretty sure it was bins in or out or whatever it was. But I thought, must have been the neighbours next door. I thought, geez, that's nice.
Yeah, Shane and Julie didn't do that for me. They must be gone, and then you guys must be in. Didn't
even give the wave, Sometimes now and then they would, but I'm used to.
I know what you mean, but But I used to, when about 7 or 8 years ago, we had a little Indian lady move in with a young Aussie husband.
She was here, was she?
Yeah, she was here.
Yeah, righto. Yeah.
Anyway, very first, early in the piece, I wouldn't say it was the first week or whatever, but early in the piece, I bloody grabbed their garbages and put them out, and all I could see were these whites of her eyes looking at
peeping through the blinds, was she?
Like, who's knocking off my garbage? But I'm mid-spoil of it, and I'll go out and chat him. And then all of a sudden, he took them out and he brought them back in for me, and then she did what you did, just come out and say, thank you,
Yeah.
And we ended up being really good friends with them, and
good one.
They come over home for a meal, and she'd cook us, because she was a nice Indian cook as well. And so she away she'd go. We'd go up to Belmore Street when she left here.
Yeah, nice one. And, so she's still in town, is she?
No, I think she's moved on. We don't know where she's got to.
Right,
But she was here, and then we became good friends. And then sort of when they went and bought their own little house, we were quite often invited up there to have a meal.
Good one. I reckon that's what it's all about, hey, because I was just going to say, I'm coming from Sydney. I think everyone back in Sydney is sort of in their own mindset a little bit more. I'll still give people away, but
I think it's very tunnel vision. So if you live in number 73, you look after number 73.
That's right.
And you might look across the road to 74, but you don't look either side of 71 and 70.
That's right. And even then, even if you do, it's just sort of, g'day.
G'day,
mate. It's never a come around for dinner or bring it. Helping each other out.
Really, it's more your mates that you've either been at uni with or go to work with, or you met them at the club or the pub, and they something might develop from there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite often it's neighbours that you don't really get to know.
Not in this day and age, really either.
They're in their own little pockets, and we quite have. We don't have many people around, and we've been lucky enough to have you and the boys around.
Thank you kindly.
And it was really good, and that's, to me, it's just a form of friendship.
Yeah.
When we were travelling in Tasmania, we were treated to fantastic friendship by people that we'd never met before, and just we just walk into a chemist or walk into an IGA and good morning, good afternoon, how are you? Can we help you? That was just, we don't sort of get it so much up here. You know some of the people up the street, and they'll put their head down and not even talk to you.
Yeah, it's
and
different.
These strangers would just they'd say Tasmania's 20 years behind. Well, maybe it's a good thing because they're a bit more polite.
It's that old school sort of mentality still.
School, You're like in a 17-year-old kid that you think, she won't talk, and good morning, can I help you?
Surprises sometimes, hey? You sort of get taken aback and think,
it's really good. And
definitely.
We were at we were sort of first few nights out camping. We met this really nice couple of girls and their parents, and we just hit it off fantastic.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, we sort of it was just one of those things and we've got a friendship. We are at the end of the trip. They said, "Don't you go back to a caravan park before you get on the boat. You come and stay at our house." One.
See, that's what it's all about, but isn't it? Those connections you make in whatever facet, whether it be travelling or neighbours or, like you said, uni and work and developing those and being there for each other, through life.
Another funny story. We're up on, this is a few months later, and we were up on the east coast, a bit south of St Helens, at a little place called something Frog, I think it was called. It'll come to me. The Pondering Frog.
Yeah,
right.
It
was a little cafe, but it was a free camp. But it was a free camp, but he was happy if you made a $2 donation.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a free camp, but you got water, and you'd fill up your gas if you needed gas. It was pretty cheap and beautiful restaurant. His wife was a really nice cook, so we had happened to be. Leading back, we met this couple from Nundle, which is over
just
near
Tamworth. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we hit it off really well with them, and it happened to be his birthday the night that they were in, and it was Marie's birthday the next night.
Oh, you're joking.
So we went over and we had a meal together. You know, but I'll tell you a funny story. When we got there, Merie, being Merie, she sort of, I'll do this right and do that right, So, the water, don't use that water for your drinking, but it's great for if you want to fill up to use for your washing up or whatever.
I get you. Right.
And she said, it's a bit tainted as far as the colouring goes. It's got tannins in it.
Yeah, okay.
And he said to her, I can see it's working.
What do you mean?
Well, his wife thumped him and said, John, you can't say that. What he was meaning that she had streaks in the hair and it was an ambery colour. And he said, yeah, the tannins are working in your hair, Merie. It's streaky, it's grey and brown and grey. And Merie just took it as it should be taken, as just really good fun.
Bit of a banter.
But Robin thought, you don't even know these people. Anyway, but look, she took it great, because she was trying to help them out.
Yeah,
they were just letting her know, don't drink it because of the tannins. But you wash your hair in it. It definitely works.
That's good, but you got to have a laugh like that, I suppose. Coming back full circle, a lot of people will take things a little bit too seriously nowadays. I think much.
And it's easy to. It's funny. I'll tell you a funny story again. Yeah. Back 100 years ago. Anyway, we had this lovely old couple. They were a nice old couple, but she was a bit of a whinger. Anyway, and they liked to drink. Anyway, they'd been down at the RSL club, but they always ended up like to come to the bowling club.
Yeah, righto.
Anyway, she's walking down through the car park because they used to walk. They did the right thing. She liked to walk. But anyway, she's tripped over one of the telegraph poles in the car park, which is up on the top side, and she's fallen. She's hurt herself. Anyway, she comes down to the club and she said, "I've hurt myself in your car park." And I said, "It's not my car park, Dulcie. It's our car park. You're a member just like me." Yeah. But she said, "I've hurt myself." I said, "Well, if you didn't get drunk, you'd be able to step over those things." And you'd have no problem. You're not getting any sympathy off me because don't blame. You're saying it's my fault because it's my club, but it's our club.
Yeah, when you want it to be, I suppose. And she's made the choice to get to that level of intoxication, and then
that's right. And anyway, she got no sympathy from me, which was a little bit hard on her. But she come in the aggressor.
Yeah, you can't just walk in, ranting and raving, can you?
I'm afraid I fire back, that's just me. And another time, I like to tease her. I used to tease her all the time. Anyway, she said, "You're never going to make me cry again." I said, "Is that right, Dulce?"
Mm.
Oh. I said, "I can remember your mother being up here a couple of weeks ago, and you totally abused her." "Oh, you're always making me cry." I said, "It didn't take you very long to say that I wouldn't make you cry anymore."
Yeah,
I said, "Because you were horrible to your mother, and you didn't treat her very well." And
had she passed on at that stage? Had she?
No.
She was still around.
No, she was still around.
Righto.
She was still around.
So just an emotional person from the sound of it as well.
She was, but you know what grog can do? Sometimes make people cry.
Definitely, yeah.
She wasn't a gin drinker because gin can make women cry.
Yeah, righto.
Maybe men too. We don't see many men drinking gin, but women do drink gin. Yeah, but it was just funny that she said, "You're never going to make me cry again." I said, "Well, don't lead the horse to water because within a few seconds I had a cry."
Don't push the buttons. You want to test me? Righto, it's on.
Yeah, so there's just a couple of little funny stories
that
I've had at the bowling club. Like I've had 43 years there, and plus a few now casual,
As a greenskeeper down there,
as a greenskeeper, and it's been a wonderful life, It's been. I started off in Sydney as a kid and enjoyed my sport and did all that sort of thing in Sydney. And I went and did a vocational guidance test, and I don't know whether there's such a thing anymore, but
I think there is. You can do online ones. I don't know their credibility or anything like that, but they still is like careers advisors and that sort of thing.
That type of thing where they've promoted that into schools now. Well, we never, to my knowledge, we never had that at school in the 60s.
So this was an outside
This was an outside government service.
Yep.
Anyway, I went to Hurstville and did it. Anyway, they came back and suggested greenkeeping. And I thought, what the hell's greenkeeping, So I did some more inquiries, and it was to do with looking after race courses or parks and gardens with councils or on golf courses or bowling greens. And I thought, bowling greens, what's bowling? What's a lawn bowls? I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And, it's funny that I took it to it like a duck to water. When I eventually got my apprenticeship, I decided to apply to be a greenkeeper.
Yeah.
And I got an apprenticeship at my first interview.
There you go. How old were you when you got your apprenticeship?
I would have been 17.
Yeah, right. So pretty much fresh out of school. That's the first thing you tried.
Long. Well, no, I left school on Friday the 12th of September.
Geez, you got a good memory, eh?
Friday the 12th of December.
Oh, sorry, I'll take that back.
Yeah.
No, go on.
And then on the Monday, which would have made it the 15th of December, I started what they used to call it the Department of Motor Transport, which used to be the RTA, now called the New South Wales Services.
Yeah.
So I started in there. I had a guy that used to pick me up. He lived about a kilometre away. He used to pick me up and take me to work. So I was very lucky. That was into Rosebery, which was getting towards... heading towards the centre of Sydney.
Yeah, righto.
Not still a few k's out, but heading towards that. And it wasn't my go, but I wanted a job. And that's...
You've got to do what you got to do at the time, don't you?
You do, like a lot of people. A lot of people will say no, they won't get it and won't take a job until they get the job they want. Well,
you spend your whole life waiting for it, really, for the perfect one. I was the same, Brucey, when I started my apprenticeship. I graduated after I'd already started working. I did my TAFE. I did a year of TAFE early. It's like a I can't remember what they call it, but early education sort of thing, where you do your first year of TAFE in the months leading up to the start of your apprenticeship in February.
Yep.
So I'd graduated 3 days after I started that. Right. And what I had to do, I used to do, because I didn't have any licence either, I had a mate that'd take me in there as well. So I'd have to walk probably about half an hour in the morning. There'd be about four in the morning, half an hour walk down. He'd pick me up on the main drag there, take me in, and then bring me back. And usually he'd drop us back home on the way because it wasn't as far. But
you're conscientious when you're prepared to do those things.
That's exactly right. But in my mind, I was sort of like, well, it's just there's no arguing with it because it's just how the way it is. You know what I mean? You've just got to,
life.
You know, it's not great. I didn't love it by any means.
It's not the ideal situation.
No, but you just pick up your socks and go, righto, well, this is just how it is, and it's not going to be forever. You know, nothing ever is.
It certainly isn't, no.
And it's paid off in the long run, but as well, and that's the thing I think a lot of people miss out on is they think, going to be doing all this hard work now, but yeah, you are, but eventually it'll pay off. You know, if you dedicate yourself to it long enough, you'll go places with it. Whether it be, you know, doing an electrical apprenticeship or like yourself doing greenskeeping, and now 43 years later, you know, you're standing here and still doing it and still loving every minute of it from the sound of it.
And I still get up every morning. I've been getting up at 6:30 and still going to work to give my mate a hand. I call him a mate because he is. It's just, it gets me out of the house. It's just something I still... And it keeps me handy.
You're doing something, aren't you? Yeah. But from the way you talk about it as well, it seems like it is something that you've always been really passionate about. You know, you take pride in your work. You've told me about how you know, I don't know much about it technically, but, you know, getting the greens to a certain level and making sure it's all
at
cut
a certain standard. That's right, you
yeah.
know. And I've suggested to other people that are less experienced than me, this is what you should be doing. I don't push my views onto them. Mm-hmm. You know, they sometimes ask me for, you know, what do I do?
Yep.
But if I see that somebody has got something that's a lot more backward than what I've got, well, the condition of the green is a lot more poorer than what mine are.
Yep.
You know, I might give a view and try to get them to change their ways to do something, do a few more hours and to be prepared to get something better.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in most situations, they are too set in their ways and they just continue to do the same thing, and their greens are pretty ordinary. Righto. You know, where I'm prepared to, like, even I've got young Darren, like I suggested to him there a few weeks ago, that we start double cutting the green a couple of times a week. And double cut means you cut the green on at one angle, and then you turn around and you cut it again. Now people say that doesn't even need cutting because look how low it is. But surprising how much
it still makes that little extra difference, you know.
And the more you cut, the more you take the head off, the more the plant wants to spread horizontal, not vertical. Okay. So it's growing naturally. Things are always prepared to go vertical, to be drawn towards the sun.
Yep, that makes sense.
So if you continually cut the head off, which is only a tip, like a tip of a leaf, it's, you know, it's part of a mill, like a very small part of a mill.
Yeah, okay.
But all because the grass is so fine. But it learns that, okay, if I get my head chopped off often enough, I'll keep it lower and I'll grow out and I won't grow up.
There you go.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's where you get a better green
Finish on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's incredible.
A couple of times a week, and now that I've suggested that to him a couple of times, I don't need any prompting now. He's never heard of double cutting before.
Oh, he takes it upon himself now, but
Takes
that's
it upon
what
himself and do it.
So, like you said, but it comes down to that standard, and you're saying, well, this is the process I use to get the finish that I like, and he sounds like he's somewhat passionate about it to the extent you are as well.
I think it helps if you're a good lawn bowler, and he's a better player than I've been a good player in my younger days.
Yep.
But he's in his early 40s, and he's a very good player.
Yeah, right.
And he wants the greens to be as good as he can possibly get them.
Because he's using them, I
so
suppose. Yeah.
That he can, and it's a bit easier to get a pat in the back if they're really good than if they're pretty ordinary.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I imagine so. Yeah.
The members are prepared to say, "Oh, gee, mate, you're doing a good job out there. Gee, the greens look good and they're playing well." Well, you walk away fairly proud that you think, "Oh, yeah." But if the greens are lousy and the people are behind you, sort of sniping at you, and you think, well, it's not a real nice place to work. It's going to be like this,
Yeah.
So it's nice to. What I find is if you're on a production line at Holden, for example, you might be welding something onto two pieces of steel, but you might be doing that all day, or you might be putting a nut on a bolt. Or you're doing a very menial task, and you don't see the finished product until you see it in the showroom, for example. Or a coal miner, he just digs away at his coal, digs away at the coal. He doesn't see it bloody get transported out and go to Japan.
The
or
whole
China.
Process, they're only just a step in the method,
Yeah, but in greenkeeping, you're there. If you build a new green, you see the drainage go in. You put your all your soil structures in.
Yeah,
then
righto.
You put your grass in, and then you start to mow and roll and mow.
So you're there from the start of the process right up until just the care and maintenance of it all.
Yeah, right. Or you can be. Yep. I've been lucky enough as an apprentice to be invited to help build a new green with a whole bunch of other greenkeepers.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it now. I wouldn't know the process of what to do now because it's too long ago, and contractors would come in and do that.
Yeah, okay.
So I would then continue with the finished product after I might be there watching and seeing what's going on.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be there to do it from the start like I was back as an apprentice.
Yeah, okay, righto.
But then it's up to me to give the best product I can possibly give to the club I'm working for.
Beautiful, yeah.
And that's what I've tried to always give at Gulgong. I quite often give 50 hours a week in summertime.
Yeah.
Because I just want the green better than the next guys.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah. So is that you're a little bit competitive from the sound of it as well? Then?
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah,
so.
well that'd probably help as well.
And
then,
I think it does help. You go to Dubbo. I used to go to Dubbo, to West Dubbo, and Johnny Ferguson's greens were always superb.
Yeah,
and he wasn't a great worker. He had good people working with him.
Ah, right.
But he was a gifted greenkeeper.
Yeah, okay.
He was a better greenkeeper than I was. But he didn't work half as hard as I did.
Yeah, righto.
Because he had other people working with him.
Delegating tasks.
He could delegate. Yeah, righto. He'd delegate and tell them what they had to do.
Yeah.
And then he might do. He would definitely do some work, but he wouldn't be working as hard as me. But they had lovely gardens. They had lovely surrounds. They had lovely greens.
Yeah, righto.
This day and age, they don't have that.
Probably more people working there as well. The population Dubbo compared to Gulgong.
Yeah, but there's less people working there now. There's only the greenkeeper and an assistant now.
Yeah,
so they're doing 3 greens and the surrounds and all that. And the greens aren't as good as they used to be.
Yeah, there you go. So it suffered because of that reason.
I think part of the reason is that it's you haven't got an extra 40 hours a week.
Yeah. It would make a difference, I imagine. Yeah.
Sure can.
If you put 40 hours into anything extra a week, you're going to see progress. Just a matter of time.
Things are going to get better, aren't they?
Exactly right. And you'll get better yourself, I imagine as well. You'll craft your own skills and hone that.
You do, and
learn from it. Yeah.
And like we put a new cylinder in the other day. Darren did. And yesterday morning he said to me, I don't think that mower's cutting as good as it should be, even though it's a fairly new cylinder. He said, would you mind resharpening for me? So what we do, you put it on just a little machine, and it spins the cylinder backwards.
Yeah, right.
And you spin the cylinder backwards against the bottom blade, and they're both steel, so steel on steel.
Right.
And you use a valve grinding paste, just like mechanics do, where they're resetting a valve in a motor and this sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
And that resharpens the cylinder.
Yeah, there you go.
And after I spent 20 minutes, 25 minutes on it was so much better than what it was before. And he could keep working. He could keep working doing what he was doing.
Yep.
Instead of him having to knock off. So that's just my extra given hours. Just help out so much better.
Yeah.
And
you're enjoying it as well, but which is the main thing.
well,
I think as well is the main thing about it all.
Well, and then I can see that when he goes and cuts the green, it's cut it better than what it did the day before because it's not a blunt mower, it's now a sharp mower.
Yeah.
And if you cut grass with a sharp mower, there's less chance of getting disease because you've got a cut just like a pair of scissors. But
right.
if you got a piece of grass and tore it, it's all jaggedy edges.
Right.
So disease will set in. But if you get it a perfectly cut edge, there's less chance. In the right conditions, disease will set in anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
Given the right humidity, rain, dampness, humidity will form just like mould.
Yeah, right. On the actual turf itself,
on the actual turf, yeah.
Right.
It's not a mould as in a black mould as far as mould is on a ceiling.
Yep.
But it's a discoloration, and they go through different stages of discoloration back to dead.
Right. Okay.
So if you don't spray it, your grass will end up dying. It's just no different to a doctor. If you come down with an illness and you've got bacteria or whatever, he gives you an antibiotic and it clears it up.
Yep.
You know, but for a while you're not very well, but all of a sudden, day by day, you start getting better.
So it's the same thing with grass. There you go.
Grass is exactly the same. And if you give it a nice sharp cut, there's less chance that disease will set in as it will compared to if it's cut with a raggedy edge.
There you go. Is there a lot of protective measures you're putting in place? Because I always thought with grass and plants, it's fertilizer, water, and that's it. But is there a lot of sort of
There's a lot of when you got to do a program.
Yeah, okay.
You do a program on stopping an insect. You do a program on stopping a particular disease.
Right.
So you might spray for 2 months, like you might spray on the 1st of March.
Yeah.
Then you might spray on the 1st of April, and you might spray on the 1st of May.
So when you say a program, does that mean you're learning the process of doing it, or a program as in like a cycle, like you're putting this in for a certain amount of time? You
usually talk with your representatives, your turf representatives that come once a month.
Yeah, okay.
And then he'll suggest, that looks a bit dicey. I think you should be doing a program on preventing this from happening.
Right.
It's a little bit more expensive at times, but other times, if you get really smashed by a disease, and you lose part of your green, then sometimes a year you can't get that green back till growing season next year.
Right.
So if you do a preventative program on spray, you stop the insect, or you stop the fungus.
Yep.
And then you can go ahead and a week later do a light fertiliser program.
Okay,
so
righto.
You've nipped the problem in the butt, and then you've hit it with a little bit of fertiliser, so the new roots can so the roots that are starting to survive from that attack, they take the nutrient in, and the plant becomes healthy again.
That's unreal. Hey, I've read things about there with different types of plants that if there's a certain type of species there that can communicate with each other, in the sense that if one plant is getting attacked or eaten by an animal, say, it tells through the root system the other plants around it to release this pheromone that makes it taste bad,
or taste sour.
For it to send it out to all the other ones surrounding it. It's incredible when you think about it.
Nature has a wonderful way of helping itself. Like we communicate through language, whether it be English or any other language. But yes, it sounds like the birds probably do the same thing with danger.
You'd imagine so,
and animals, It's just marvellous how I don't know where we've all come from.
No one does at the end of the day.
No one does. But what a like you look at a butterfly or you look at a bee and you think, I did hear once that bees shouldn't be able to fly. I don't know if you've ever done any research on bees.
I've never heard
Somehow
that before.
They reckon the way the wing structure is on a bee, they shouldn't be able to fly. I'm sure I've heard this.
Yeah, okay,
And it's just one of God's ways, for example. I'm not a religious person.
Yeah,
but one of God's ways of being able to, some divine power.
Yeah.
But bees, as we know, fly very, very well.
Oh, of course, you see them here every day. That's right.
And as it turns out, as we've got to learn, that they're one of the most important insects, if not the most important insect on the planet.
The way the ecosystem, is based nearly
the way the way they pollinate everything and things regerminate and give out, and mate, just wonderful little insects.
There you go. That's it. I'll have to look that up after this because that's bloody interesting.
It'd be interesting for you to look it up and to tell me whether
definitely
you actually did research.
I will have a look. Yeah.
Did that information actually come true, or has Bruce sort of got his information wrong?
It makes sense, because a lot of things sometimes in theory you go, it shouldn't work, but in practice, it does. Whether it be, as something is generic as like maybe even a sports team or something. You look at it on paper and go, I don't know if you've ever seen. There's a movie there called Moneyball, which is about the Oakland A's. They're a baseball team that was in America. I think it was early 2000s.
I've heard of the movie, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
The story goes anyway that this guy, he got a mathematician on to calculate all the statistics of the different players within their budget, and they went on to win the championship, from this team that everyone, all the experts were saying, well, nah, this is a write-off team,
A champion team beat a team of champions.
Yeah, but they beat, exactly right. And so it just does go to show, it's probably, I'd believe it, because, sometimes on paper it looks fine or not.
I think too, people that think that they're better than sports people or anybody in any walk of life, if they think they're better than the opposition, they do go in with a negative point of view. Thinking, we've got this game won before we even walk on the field.
Arrogance can be, that's right. Complacency in a sense, isn't it?
And, sometimes the outsider gets up and you think, how is that possible? But that's why...
sleeping at the gate,
And that's why I think coaches drum it into teams that, like, I don't care, this side's running last and we're running first. But if you take them for granted, you're going to just turn up on today. And we all know that the team running last is still a fairly good side.
You never know.
Someone's got to run first and someone's got to run last.
That's exactly right.
And there doesn't have to be a huge amount of difference between sides, between luck can play an enormous part, can't it?
That's right, yeah. Conditions as well. Even the conditions on the day, even arrogance the other way is to go as well as, not having that belief in your team either. If they get one try on you, for example, in football, if they get a try on you and everyone puts their heads down and goes, well, it's over now, 9 times out of 10, it's done, But if everyone goes, well, hold on, we can get still back in the game here and start the ball rolling again, then, exactly.
Well, we've got to pretend it's still nil all.
We got taught that as well, but
if it's 12-0, it's nil all.
That's right,
we've got to be the next to score.
That's right,
and then it's 12-6 or 12-4. And then we can go again and it's 12-8.
There you go.
Or 12-10.
And then it's a game,
And then they're looking over their shoulder and they're thinking, gee, I thought we had this game won.
And now that might go the same way for them. They start snowballing their thoughts.
They get negative, you get positive, and all of a sudden, well, we can beat this side. This is pretty nifty.
They say with a lot of sports there, because I'm right into my UFC like cage fighting that as well, and they say a lot of it, even boxing and football, I'd imagine as well, is a lot of they say most of it is the mental game. The mental game, is having that faith in yourself and picturing that you're going to be the victor and not letting the psychological sort of side of it get you too much.
I can't ever imagine Muhammad Ali ever being negative.
No, he didn't ever seem it, hey?
He just seemed to be, he had this air of whether it was arrogance or whether it was just sheer confidence. And he had an enormous amount of ability. He wasn't the biggest hitter in the game, but he was the nicest dancer.
Wasn't he? Right,
And, if you can move out of the way of a bloke that's got the best punch and he misses or doesn't collect as well as he should.
That's right. Look at Floyd Mayweather's the same. 50-0, and only on being such a good defensive boxer. You know, and very rarely gets clipped in any of his fights.
And I don't think those fellas go in with any complacency at all, because
I don't imagine you couldn't. I
think that's part of the absolute champions makeup. If you get a champion in any sport, I think they just want to go out and beat you as best they can. It's the next level down that think, I'm better than him. I really ain't going to turn up. And that's what coaches are there for, aren't they? To sort of say, no, you'll go out and you'll give 110%.
That's right. That can only go so far, I imagine. But hey, because it still comes down to the person either on the field or in the ring or whatever they're doing.
Each individual.
Exactly right.
That's all pretty important, isn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah, but the physical would obviously play in a certain extent as well. I mean, you couldn't run 100 metres if you're overweight or something like that. You're not going to do it as well as the fit guy next to you. But
of course not. No, you got to put in the hard yards. But so what I find it really hard. I watch these Olympic swimmers. But the people that are the state swimmers do every bit as hard a work as the champions above them.
100%.
Rowers, for example, you might be beaten by half a boat length in a qualifying final. Now, it's not because It's not because you haven't worked just as hard. You might have worked harder in the gym and harder on the water. You just haven't got quite the technique or the ability.
That's right.
As the absolute champions.
They might just have that little bit something different that's putting them over the edge, or just some different process
just the
in
blade
their head.
in the water.
Or it could be, just the conditions themselves. The boat or the way the oar, exactly right.
You've got to look at Sally Pearson. She's not the biggest girl at all running hurdles. But she floats through the air like a gazelle.
That's exactly right,
so you don't have to have long legs to be able to get higher.
Definitely helps, I suppose, but you're exactly right.
But
you
Sally
don't need
Pearson's only a smaller sort of girl.
That's right.
And
it's just about that technique, and I would imagine hours and hours and hours on the track running hurdles.
But the people that are finishing behind her have worked just as hard.
Oh, for sure.
Just as hard. Every morning at 4 o'clock.
That's
every
right.
afternoon after work.
That's why it's so good to watch, I suppose. You're watching the best of the best in their field compete, and that competitiveness makes everyone perform that little bit better, I suppose, as well. Hey,
well, my best mate in town, his two twin daughters, they were New South Wales champions.
Righto.
One would finish first and one would finish second.
What's that in hurdles, is it, mate?
No, cross country.
Oh, cross country.
1,500 metre cross country.
Yeah, righto.
Anyway, and one kept finishing first and one kept finishing second. And after a while, it got to the girl running second. She said, I'm useless. I said, no, you're beating all the other girls in New South Wales. Yeah. You just happen to run into your sister, who's just the tiniest bit better than you.
That's right, yeah.
And if you train harder, you're probably still not going to beat it because she'll train harder.
Yep.
It's technique. It's just all little things.
100%, and hard work,
all
for
different pieces of the. But she thought she was a failure because she couldn't win.
I think it's natural for us as humans. We sort of don't look at the positive. We look at how we should be better, rather than, well, hold on, we are doing all these good things already, but put that to the wayside. And they say comparison is the theft of joy, just if you're doing your best every day.
Well, we tell our kids, don't we? I'm sure your mum or your dad or your grandparents have said, look, all we expect from you, you just go out and do your best.
That's it.
And if it's not as good as your cousin, well, that's bad luck.
That's right, yeah.
You've given your all.
Yep.
That's all we can expect.
Well, that's all you can really do, isn't it? If you have left your heart out there,
you're not a failure at all.
No, not by no means.
I think if you've done the best of whatever you can do.
Yep. And what you enjoy doing, I suppose, as well, because that I believe anyway is if I enjoy something, I'll naturally do more of it, and I'll naturally get better of it because as well,
that makes sense too, doesn't it? Would it be like listening to music? If you happen to like Dire Straits better than Mozart, you listen to Dire Straits.
That's it.
And it's not saying you don't appreciate Mozart's music, because you've probably heard a little bit of it, and you can appreciate it.
Just preference, isn't it? Yeah,
it's preference.
Personal preference.
That's what it comes down to.
Exactly right. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, I think we're lucky where we're both in areas now. You've been in, greenkeeping, which you've absolutely, loved. Exactly right. Love doing it. I'm starting to get into this, which I absolutely love doing. But I think a lot of people out there still are doing something, whether it be, because of outsider influence or because of money or just because they don't believe in themselves, they don't think they can do anything else, and not enjoying it. So they're either stagnant in whatever field they're in or just don't want to be there, And
but it'd be like you or me possibly, maybe not so much you, but look, I really wanted to become a doctor.
Yep.
But no matter how hard I studied at school, I couldn't get the marks to be able to study medicine.
Yep.
Now, I'm sure people get really disappointed that that's what they want to be, because Dad might have been a surgeon or brother might have been a surgeon, and you want to be a surgeon.
Yep.
And you've got to settle for, you might have to settle to be a nurse. And I'm not saying that being a nurse is it's not quite as good as being a doctor in your eyes, but a nurse performs every bit as an important job.
Oh, for sure. Definitely
in his
integral.
or her field.
Yeah.
But it must be disappointing if you don't get to achieve your goals, where I've been lucky enough to think, well, I didn't ever probably set myself on. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left. Well, yes, I did. I wanted to be a policeman.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I had a grandfather that was a policeman, never met him.
Yeah, right.
But he was a policeman, but I don't know whether that was the influence why I wanted to be a copper.
I think it was the same for me, because I've got family that the police officers as well, and sort of I had that, I'd dip in and out of it through school thinking, that's what I want to do, and sort of something else would come up and I'd come back to it, and even, till recently I thought, maybe I could try my hand at it.
But at 5'6", I'm in the 60s.
Yeah, right.
You had to be 5'8.5".
Yeah, okay.
So I was never ever going to be in a position.
So it's impossible, pretty much.
It was an impossibility for me. But now, and I think it was probably a good thing. Maybe it still is a good thing that You know, if you're a big burly bikie, you know, 5'4" copper comes up and tells you to move on.
Yeah.
You know, you look down at him and say, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah.
Mate. Yeah. But if you're a 6'2" copper,
they'll listen to you.
You know, well, you think, well, I've got a bit more respect for this guy.
Yep.
You know, and mate, the guy that's 5'4" might be a black belt karate expert.
I was about to say, yeah, you don't really know, but do you?
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know the dog in the fight
For sure, mate.
till the fight starts.
That's exactly right. Exactly
you
right.
Know, so, but no, that's what I always wanted to be.
Yep.
And reflecting back on what I was saying earlier, how I got into greenkeeping, I had an uncle who I adored that had an electrical business, and I was never interested in going into electricity.
Yep.
But he suggested I do this vocational guidance test.
Yeah, good one.
So I did it, and whatever I wrote down, I don't know how, but whatever I wrote down, they suggested greenkeeping.
There you go, and then look where you've ended up.
And look where I've ended up.
Yeah,
you know, Merie, my wife, she always believed that I had a shorter belief in myself than what she did. She thought I could have moved on to a bigger and better club and been successful. But I was happy in Gulgong in my own little cocoon, where I thought I could control things, not people control me.
Yep.
You know, if I kept giving them a good product, they'd be less likely to be looking elsewhere for me to go elsewhere.
Yep.
And then I've been approached by several other clubs, mainly from Newcastle. Say, "Oh, Bruce, we can get you a job in Newcastle."
Yeah, right.
I said, "Oh, okay, yeah. And what are you going to do with your greenkeeper?" "Oh, we'll get rid of him." I said, "No, thanks."
Yep.
Because if you can get rid of him that easy, you can get rid of me that easy.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I thought, well, no. I mean, you're going to take it back and say, well, this bloke's no good. Let's move him on.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if I have problems outside where I can actually cure the problem, say, well, let's get rid of him now. So I didn't want to probably ever be put in that position. I felt comfortable in Gulgong. I give them a really good product. I was lucky in different times where the club was well off. At different times, if I needed a piece of equipment, I used to put it to them when we had money.
Yeah, righto. Yeah.
And we were able to get what I needed.
Yep.
And had I gone to them a few years earlier or a few years before, they probably would have said no. So I probably wouldn't have been able to produce what I could produce with not having all the right gear.
Yeah, right. So it's just been, because it comes full circle again, you have to sort of be realistic in not just what you want to be or your goals and your dreams, but even your day-to-day, you know, are they going to have enough money in the budget to afford what I'm going to propose to them, you know? And I think it's good to be optimistic and the potential is always there, but to be realistic in the sense of, well, like you said, I'm 5'4", I can't, it's impossible to get into the cops. Or, you know, I chatting with my mum saying the same thing the other day, saying if I want to be, you know, an NFL player in America, there's no way, it's physically impossible for me, because these people have trained since they were 3.
Yep.
They're at the top of their game, physically and mentally understanding the game.
They've virtually had 20 years, haven't they?
Exactly right, yeah.
17 to 18 years.
Yeah,
By the time they're 20 years of age, they've had 17 years coming through the junior system,
exactly
the high school system,
lived and breathed it the whole time. Exactly right. And even these, you know, you see these NRL players that go over that are top athletes in their own regard.
Yes.
But don't do as well in that game because they haven't been there for as long. They don't have the experience and the know-how and all the natural things that exactly right.
That just come to you if you
right. Yeah. But that's so it's unrealistic for me to say. Even if that's my dream, well, it can't be because
so you can't dream beyond your means.
That's right. Yeah. You know, not saying don't chase what you're interested in. There's always a way. Like if that was my dream, well, the next thing would be to say, well, play gridiron down at your local club, you know, and start from there. And just and if you do really enjoy it, you'll go somewhere with it, you know.
That's right, you know. But it's to say it's no good trying to be something that you're not either.
That's right.
You shouldn't be giving up goals.
Yep.
But they've got to be realistic goals.
Definitely. Within your own means, and knowing yourself allows you to then judge what those means are. I think as well, you know, and that could be physically, that can be financially. Mentally, emotionally, you know,
all those things
all play a factor. Definitely,
all play a huge factor, and family support and friend support.
Yeah,
you've got to have support of your mates. You've got to have support of your family and your friends that you want to give something a go. As long as what we were just mentioning, that it's not unrealistic.
Definitely. I think support is such a great thing. I don't think necessarily. You need it, because I know I've read a lot of stories out there of people that were just on their own and have made it in their own field just because that's what they knew in their heart of hearts they wanted to do. But it definitely makes a big difference, hey, to have that team behind you to sort of go, well, even if I dive off the high dive and I don't do the best dive in the bloody world, they're still there barracking me on, and you're going to be there home for tea no matter what anyway, you know, and that's what life really comes back down to in its essence.
Again, you may not have read this either, and I'd like to think that it's accurate what I'm saying to you, but I don't know whether you knew Walt Disney tried 365 times to get Disneyland up and running.
So it turns out actually that Walt Disney didn't try 365 times to build Disneyland. It was more so that at the time Disney was struggling to make money and he had to make his own company, WED Enterprises, and put his own money into it to get it started off, and then it eventuated from there. So it's not the exact same story, but the gist is there.
Now, would have he gone for 465 or 500? I should imagine he would have.
I imagine, yeah.
But like, and is it just a magical number? That's how many days there are in a year.
Yeah.
But he actually tried again. Maybe you can sort of
I'll have to have a look. Yeah, for sure.
But I understand that Walt Disney tried 365 times before he got the finance to be able to get Disneyland up and running. And what a fantastic
look
thing
at it now,
how many billions of kids and families that have gone through, and now there's more than one Disneyland in the world.
That's right, yeah.
Other than there's one in Japan.
But for him at the time, it obviously none of that existed yet, so it was only the potential there. And if he had turned around and said, they've rejected me 364 times, I'm never going to have a chance in the world, you know? It's just that keep on trying, keep on at it. If it's what makes you passionate, keep on at it.
How much perseverance must have he had to be able to keep coming up with an idea? And then who was the person that said yes?
Yeah, that's right. That other visionary that went, hold on, this guy, he could be onto something. Yeah.
And on a Sunday night, you're much too young to remember, but on a Sunday night in the 60s or 70s, Disneyland used to come on.
Oh, yeah, right.
Anyway, and there was four. There was Frontierland, there was Fantasyland, there was Adventureland, and there was one other. But you know, I used to really like Adventureland because that was probably something to do with the bears or nature and things like that. And it was I wonder what's this week. What's this week? Oh, it's Fantasy World. Okay, it's all right. Okay, we're Fantasyland next week. Oh, it's Fantasyland again.
So they just show you different rides in there or different amusements?
No. It was cartoons. Like it might have been Peter Pan. Might have been Peter Pan. It might have been that was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, okay.
So
it's showing you like a clip to do with that area.
They would do a story. They would do a story on Snow White on that particular night because it was Fantasyland.
I get you. Yeah.
And then, but Adventureland was something more to do with nature.
Beautiful.
So and then Frontierland was, I think, more to do with something similar.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe to do with what happened in America in the 1800s or things like that.
Yeah, different themes, I suppose, for the night.
He had four main themes.
Yep.
And so on different nights. Obviously, he did, I suppose, a lot of investigating to think, which will be the most popular? Which one will we put on? Not necessarily in Australia, but in America, on a Sunday night. Which one will be the most popular? So, and maybe Fantasyland with cartoons and people like Peter Pan flying and things like that.
Yeah, or even Tinkerbell, like the space race that's going on at the same time as well in the media, and going, well, we'll jump on this wagon, That's
right,
for sure.
So it was probably cleverly put together. So Adventureland didn't come on this week, but what's next week, just in case? And it doesn't.
Reel you in,
and it gets you in. It's a bit like the guy, putting out the bait,
dangling the carrot. That's right. Yeah. Just I'll wait till next week, son.
It was just something that I really look forward to. I love Disneyland. Yeah. But then later on in life, you hear about stories about what Walt Disney had to get through to get it up and running.
Hard work.
Mate, and just perseverance. I mean, you get in the boxing ring, you get knocked down 364 times, and you think, well, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get knocked down again, or am I going to land the lucky punch this time?
But that's the mindset he obviously had in there, is that positive growth mindset of going, this will be the time. And it was the time for him. And now look at it, like you said, there's Disneylands all over the shop,
And how much pleasure he's given to children.
Exactly right.
And other spin-offs, maybe, I don't know, the Smurfs and all those sort of things that that have come along, whether that's been with Disney.
Oh, I couldn't tell you myself either.
But I mean, but Disney's just been just a wonderful, thing for the world.
Oh, for sure,
You know,
yeah. I love it myself. All the Disney movies, even the new Pixar ones and stuff. They've got incredible the stuff they do with it. Unreal.
Avatar and all, and I watched Happy Feet there a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or Happy Feet 2 or something.
Yeah.
And if you don't like those, if you can't get a laugh, you can't get a laugh out of the old walrus bloody saving the seal or something, or saving, if you can't get a laugh out of it, that's why they're successful, those movies, because mum and dad can take the 3 kids along.
Everyone
and they can
enjoys
all
it.
have a laugh, and
and
it's always a happy ending.
Yeah.
And that's not always necessarily with life, but in most of those things, it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
And
that's
people
their
like to walk away with.
That's their little premise, I suppose. It is always the happy ending. Like you said, that's not life, but it's Disney isn't life either.
No, Disney isn't
but that's
life.
why people like to watch it, because they know it's always a happy, feel good sort of.
If 300 people in the movies, you see 300 people walk out with smiles on their faces.
That's right. You've done something right.
Hasn't that been great?
Yeah, that's right. Right. And all from him, just like you said, just keep trying. It's evolved. He's evolved it into something that is not only helping people and entertaining people and making them feel happy in themselves, but it's something obviously that he was passionate about and enjoyed himself, because he's progressed
and
as far as he has.
how many jobs has he created in the world?
Incredible.
Same sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's
millions of jobs he's created.
And what's yet to come from that legacy as well. They could establish something new in the future that is still originated from that point in time.
From that way, Well, look at the Jetsons and the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Well, now we've got people. I saw a guy on TV the other night. I'm not sure if he had one of those jetpacks on.
Yeah, right.
And I think he reached some incredible speed.
Right.
And he flew across San Francisco Bay or something in no time.
Yeah.
With a jetpack on. And they said, well, this is, will this be the way of the future? And I thought, but as the person that was looking at it said, well, how many people are going to have a collision up there and fall down?
Yeah, that's probably all those flying cars and stuff they want to do as well. It's sort of like, well, what's wrong with the ground? We're doing that all right. Like, let's stick to there. But even computers and iPhones and all that sort of technology nowadays, the mind boggles at how someone could sit there.
But how far have they come?
In the last 100 years,
How far have they come in the last 10 years?
10 years even.
They've come a long way in 100 years, but in the last 10 years, 5 years, and then, this stuff that we're working on at the moment, in 10 years' time will almost be totally out. I don't know what's going to take its place.
Yeah.
But then again, radio studios are set up like this, aren't they? And have been for a long, long time.
Yeah, all this stuff's been around for a couple of decades,
that are this wide.
The big mixer boards, that's right.
Everything,
that's right.
But this is something similar on a much smaller scale.
That's right, exactly right. But the same core in itself, you know what I mean? That's where it's originated from, and that's the same setup. But even if you think about, I had a chat with my pop a while back, because he's about similar your age. He's a little bit older than yourself. But similar generation, I suppose. You've grown up just as television, and that was starting to
come along.
Yeah, exactly right. And what got me is the camera, right? So the camera is obviously the old timey sort of flash, and it'll project the back onto the background, and that's how they got the photos. But from it to go to that to where it is now, where you've just got a little box, or even on your phone, and to just press a button and it captures life in itself into an image, like captures the light in some sort of way, and then turns that into numbers and code, and puts it on this screen that you can look at. The mind boggles at how someone went, I've got an idea, like I'm going to make this thing that does that. Because people would have turned around at the time and said, you're going to do what? You're laughing. That's stuff of dreams, mate. You could never do something like that. Computers. No. You could never have a device that is going to let you type in something and you'll get the answer just like that. You'd laugh at it 20 years ago, but
and then you'll find that somebody was born today and can change the world in 20 years' time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Born today.
Exactly
somewhere
right.
in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Could easily be a little Chinaman, a little China girl.
That you never know.
And they could be just totally change the world. On the 25th of February 2020.
It's exactly right,
Because we just don't know, do we?
That's exactly right, mate. It doesn't take much either, but I think hopefully that whoever that person is has that belief in himself and the support in them to follow that dream.
And let's hope it's for the good.
Definitely, that's the thing as well. Good intentions too.
Good intentions,
exactly right. It's one thing to have drive, but to have morality, I suppose, with it alongside as well is always definitely a good thing. But
that's the wonderful part. I mean, there's a pretty good chance I won't be here 2040.
Oh, well, I might not be either, but
well, no,
Brucey,
we can always think like, but
statistically, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you should be here, and I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But you know, it'd be interesting to think. Well, I did this broadcast with Brucey 20 years ago, and you know, he suggests this, and we just hear that this 20-year-old has just invented something.
Imagine that, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, might not have been born today, but
no, if I look it up, I'll be looking up saying, I'll look it up. What date was such and such born? 25th of February, 2020. I'll say you were onto something, Brucey.
Did you know something into the future?
Yeah. Give you a psychic crystal ball for the next time, mate.
But it would be really, it would be interesting because there are these wonderful people that have been born throughout the life of this world with humans that have invented things that have made this world a better place. Life.
Exactly right. Or even the people that were champions of their own, progressive agenda in the sense of your Martin Luther Kings and all those sort of people that
wonderful people.
Oh yeah, they're making a difference for the good. Trying to make that world just that little bit better.
And like the white probably not a lot different to it here at the moment, but the white man has really put the black Negro down, hasn't he?
Over the centuries, for sure.
Over the centuries, I still think they're fighting the odd,
racism.
It's not even
it's
odd.
It's still existent.
Big numbers.
Racism is still as existent as homophobia in this country. As progressive as we are, in 2020, and most of the people, everyone in my close circle is very accepting.
Yes.
But my best friend, he's black.
Yep.
He's African descent, and my brother is gay.
Yep.
And I both have instances either from hearing them or experiencing firsthand where they've been discriminated purely because of that reason. So it still exists. It's nowhere near as prevalent as it was, and it's in no way encouraged by the majority, which is a really good step. But it's definitely still out there, and it has the potential, if it's out there, to always still have that violent streak in it as well.
I mean, they're 20, 25 years ago, it used to be, let's go and go poofter bashing.
Yeah, I've heard,
and that's terrible.
It is. Yeah, any sort of violence.
You mightn't particularly like that path that they've taken, but I don't think they've got a lot of choice. I think that's within their body.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way they are.
Look, I'm the same. I agree with you. I think it's definitely a genetic thing. Genetics play a massive part in it. But even to the extent, if it was their choice, look, if it's not affecting you, and seldom does, why let that get to you?
I've got two nephews. They're both brothers, and I get along particularly well with one.
Yep.
Wayne up in Brisbane.
Yep.
But he doesn't. Just occasionally, you can tell he's gay just the way he speaks.
Yep.
But normally he doesn't. But some of the people I see on TV that they flaunt it to the absolute limit.
Yep. Very flamboyant. You mean Yep. Well,
yes, just the way they deliberately put it on as, and I don't think they need to sort of just the way they speak and the way they act. I think to me it's an act.
Okay.
And I don't particularly like it.
Yep.
But I'm very accepting of their decision of what they've chosen in life.
And good on you for being honest about that, because most people would just either go with the masses or not speak up about it at all. I personally I think it's sort of those people. You can get two types of people, and I agree with your point of view with one of them, because you will always get those people that are putting it on for whatever reason it is, whether it's attention or insecurity or whatever. But I still feel like I've met people that genuinely are that very sort of loud, flamboyant, sort of people. And if that's who they are at their core, then I personally think, it's intense. You get intense people, no matter what sexuality. But if that's what makes them happy and that's the person that they are, then power to them,
That's if they're happy doing that, that's fine. I don't have to like it.
No, for sure. No. Not at all.
My choice.
That's exactly right.
But I'm very accepting of Wayne and his partner, and we love being in their company. Yeah. He is such a funny guy.
Yeah.
And he adores little Sienna, Mark's new girlfriend's little one.
Yeah.
He absolutely adores her.
Yeah, good one.
And
good person.
But he is a really good person.
Yeah.
And but he occasionally, he goes off in that little gay way.
Yep.
But most of the time, he's just a normal guy.
Yep.
And but as I said, very, very funny.
Good one. He's a nice person, and
he's a really good guy.
Yeah, well, that's what matters. That's what Martin Luther King said. You judge a man by the content of his character, not the colour of his skin. And the same applies to what they like sexually, as well, or who they fall in love with. If you go off, because I believe everyone has their own sexuality, but it's who you fall in love with is what defines your, if you're straight or gay or whatever you identify as. But I can understand where you're coming from as well, because in the sense that you're the person you are, and the type of person that they might be is going to clash with either what you enjoy or your sort of your personal sphere, in the sense that it's not that you don't accept them, like you said, they are who they are. Yeah. But it's just not, you wouldn't choose to hang out with those type of people on a basis, and that can go for any sort of walk of life.
Of course it can. Yeah. I mean, I know people at the bowling club that, if they walk in, I'll walk out.
Yeah, exactly right.
I'll say hello.
Yep.
But I don't particularly want to be in their company. Yep. Because, well, they're not the brightest people in the world, and you can't really get a decent conversation out of them. It's just rabble.
Yeah, right.
That they're talking.
Yep.
So it's easy for me to be polite and say, "Oh, look, I've got to be home now."
Yep.
Or I move to another part of the club.
Yeah, that's the best way to be about it, but because in their mind they're obviously passionate about whatever they're yabbering on about, and old mate sitting next to them might think they're the most fascinating bloke in the world.
That's why 3 or 4 of them might sit at the pub every afternoon, and they all sit together at the table, and they're happy with that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're doing their own thing. That's exactly right, but you don't have to. Yeah,
I don't have to be at that table.
That's right.
I can move to another table.
That's exactly right.
And that's my choice, and I don't put them down because of it.
No, well, you're doing the exact same thing that they're doing, which is, making your happiness at its best level. Do you know what I mean? And that's by learning what it is you enjoy and what you don't enjoy, and then doing more of the things you enjoy and avoiding more of the things you don't enjoy, which is, logical in itself.
That's really what life should be about. We're not here for very long.
That's right,
a blink, 80 years is only just...
Some people don't even get that, do they, Bruce?
They don't, but I'm just sort of...
But statistically,
it's getting more towards 80 than it was when it used to be 70.
Yep.
But 80 years is a blimp.
Yeah, you don't realise it, but I know, like, I'm 25 now, and even still, it goes like that, really, doesn't it?
I can't get over how quickly Christmas has come around.
Oh, tell me about it. We're already in February, nearly in March.
We're nearly in March. That's right.
That's a third of the way through, a quarter of the way through the year.
We're nearly Easter. We're nearly at Easter.
Yeah.
It's not that far. I mean, I know it's 2 months away, but it's not 2 months. It's probably 6 weeks away.
Did you always feel? Did you feel like it was going that quickly when you were my age?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't. No, when you were younger like that, I just think each day seemed like a normal day.
Yeah.
But you notice when you're older how quickly seasons and then important dates like Easter and Christmas come around. October long weekend, you think, oh, geez, I haven't got the greens aren't as good as what they want to be, and I've got 3 months to get them right for the October long weekend. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, bang, it's here.
Yeah. You think, I know, like, because the reason I asked is because I have talked to, like, sort of hip-hop and even my mum and people like that, and they have said as they've got older, it's gotten progressively quicker, and I'm only 25, so I can only go off the, last year's. But even for where I'm at now, I still feel like compared to my teenage years, it's ramping up. Do
you think that school? I used to think that school took so long.
Yeah, or school. Waiting for school holidays.
You couldn't wait for school holidays, but you couldn't wait to finish school so you could go and get a job, or go and get a job so you could earn money to buy a car.
Yeah.
But at 12 years of age, you think, I've still got 6 years.
I wish I was
6
out.
6 years of school to go. So that's 2,000 days.
I think we've all been
still
there.
Still got 2,000 days of school to go, minus school holidays. And it drags on and on and on and on. But then when you're working,
that's probably what a lot of it is, to be honest. Because when you're spending all that time doing something,
a lot of the time, if it's like if you were, like, I could imagine being a stop and go guy on the road. I reckon the day would take so long to go.
It would drag, wouldn't it? You'd think
so.
So
long to go.
You'd be just checking 5 minutes.
5 minutes, I know. Even at times when I used to work behind the bar, and have it slow. It's 11:05. I've only got 2 hours to go, or an hour and 55 to go. It's only 11:20.
Yeah.
But when you're greenkeeping and you've got a certain amount of time to get a green ready, you think, I'm running out of bloody time, it's the opposite.
It's going too quick for you.
Too fast.
And the funny thing is, the time itself is always the same, though. It's always a second is a second, a minute is a minute. But it's peculiar, isn't it?
And it never has. been any different, has it?
Well, they say actually scientifically it's meant to like speed up like it's ever so slightly. It's like some second of a second, or however many zeros are in front of it. But that apparently to do with the orbit and that the way the Earth is. I'm probably butchering it, but
no. I've heard that
something like that.
It does gain a second every so long.
Yeah, or even like apparently the higher you go as well, you experience time relatively quicker than you'd experience it at a lower altitude. Okay. It's only like a fraction of a second, even smaller. But it's interesting like that. Hey, such a concept that we don't really understand. We live in it every day and we're immersed in it now. But to know what actually is at the root of it and why these things happen with it, people sort of throw their hands up. I like watching The Chase or Millionaire on yesterday afternoon, and I found it really hard to believe, but they reckon krill in the ocean weigh more than all the humans on Earth. Really?
I thought,
really?
You've got to be joking.
Wow.
I mean, that was mind-boggling. I thought, that's not possible. Surely those little tiny things.
Yeah, that's a lot of krill, but hey.
That's a lot of krill,
Because you think 8 billion people on the Earth, give or take,
and if you average them out at 80 kilos.
That's 800 billion kilos. So you're telling me there's more than 800 billion kilos worth of krill? Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, another one for you. So what have we got now? We've got Walt Disney, we've got the krill.
Yep.
What was the one I said earlier? I forget what we said earlier.
We said too many now, Bruce.
You'll be able to go back.
It'll come back. Yeah, I'll be able to see now. That's a bit bloody oath. I will. I'll look them all up.
But it's
the bees. The bees. It was the bees with the wings.
The bees with the wings.
I told you to cover it. Yeah.
Most of it's to do with nature.
Yeah, I love it. But
nature's that's the most wonderful thing,
isn't it? What?
I just can't get over how the fish that live at the very bottom of the ocean have got these fantastic colours and are so ugly. And wow, it's. I mean, I know they've probably got those images and now put them into movies. Yeah. Of course, they've got those images. Unless somebody's had a similar image, they go, well, we'll just make something that looks like a piranha.
Yeah, CGI and stuff nowadays they can make near anything, I suppose.
They can't they? But just as I say, we don't know what being or whatever it was that created all this, but absolutely fantastic.
Oh, it's unreal, isn't it? Yeah, and I think you've got to really stop and for the best part, smell the roses, because that's what life is all about. You could look outside and one person would go, geez, crap weather, all these clouds about, and the person next to him would go, geez, what a beautiful day to be alive. We've been able to experience the clouds and as they are, and the beauty and the tree.
Merie said to me, we're just going around a bend and going to Mudgee earlier, and she said, oh, look over there, looks like that's a dog lying on its back. Yeah. I said, we're going around a corner.
I'll just have a look, but bang.
She did that to me in Tasmania. We're going around these bends like that. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh. But it's a really good idea. But, I'm here as the driver. You stop and look and admire, but I'll keep my eye on the road, because as soon as you're done...
Good man. You're safe man, Brucey.
Straight over the edge, mate.
I like that, yeah. You can sort of have a bit of a glance, I suppose. I was driving to work the other morning.
You might flick your eyes,
Yeah, I did it the other morning, driving to work. I don't know. Did you work... Saturday morning, I believe it was. You would have seen the sunrise. Wasn't that beautiful? How the clouds just sort of scattered over. I'll chuck a photo up now, because I did take a photo of it on my drive. They sort of pulled over and...
But just like strips of red, like pink,
reds and purples. It's absolutely incredible.
Spectacular.
It's absolutely beautiful, and it resonates somewhere inside. Like it's a very primal sort of thing, because. You think about it, since the dawn of humanity, we've all been witnessing that same thing, so it's still
same thing.
Exactly right.
The guys in Iceland have witnessed exactly the same as what the Aborigines have, or similar, to what the Aborigines have in Australia.
That's right. That's right.
I tell you what was spectacular was when we had all those bushfires on. At 6:15, I was going to work a few times at 6:15, just going over the hill to the bowling club. Yep. And that orange sun on a clear morning, and that orange sun made from the
glowing
smoke. It's just a spectacular colour.
Oh yeah, that's that sort of going on towards red, not quite that full red there, but it's definitely getting there.
Getting towards it. As I say, it's not very many times of the year that you that you get that,
No,
because we don't always get bushfires in our area.
That's right, yeah.
And sometimes the wind blows a different direction and takes it away. But I mean, we hated the bushfires. But what a spectacular sunrise, you know.
Yeah, well, it's a trade-off, I suppose. In the good, there is always a little bit of bad, and in the bad, there is always that little bit of good. The old yin and yang, they say. Yeah,
it is very much so.
But in nature, it's like you said, who knows what actually created all this, but whatever, or you know, if it's some sort of, it's the mind boggles. It's never an answer you can really get. I suppose you have your ideas and what you believe in,
and what you believe in. That's all, that's all you can ever believe in. But to create all the
everything,
insects, all the different shrubs and grass that are all suited to this particular area and that particular area, and the animals that live in this particular area.
That's right, and how they all interact with each other, because everything is so interwoven and connected. You know,
and those animals can only eat that grass, but those animals can only eat that grass.
Yep.
You know, but the other animals can reach up and eat the branches of the leaves of the trees.
Yep.
And like a giraffe. Or a goat, or whatever the case may be.
And those are the ones that survive on because they reach those higher fruits. And when the winters come, the ones that are just foraging on the ground pass away. And the evolution, that's the theory of evolution. They stay on and become what we are today. I suppose we've evolved. They say
we have evolved.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, still are, I believe. You know.
Well, I'm sure. Well, our intellect is probably getting
definitely
better.
Yep.
We're clever people are probably having siblings that are clever.
Yep.
You know, and I think the Aborigines were a simple people. You know, they were nomads, and they had spears and boomerangs and nullas, and they survived for 50, 60, 70,000 years by using those implements, and they survived.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And then we've got modern technology where we've got just super wonderful things that have been invented.
Oh, incredible, and that have saved so many people and helped so many people in the process as well. But again, there's always that trade-off, is all the bad things that have come from technology as well. But I feel like that is a part of life in a sense. You know, you can't have that light without the dark, the good without the bad, because you can't define good unless you have bad to reference it to. Well, you know.
They were talking on the TV. Just we got to Mudgee. Oh, the radio. I mean, not the TV.
Yeah.
Anyway, when we got to Mudgee earlier, Merie was saying there was a trade-off. Like they were saying that coal is far better, although the use of coal is so much better than what it ever used to be.
Yeah, right.
And then the fellow that's taken over from John Laws, he was talking about nuclear energy. And Merie said, well, what's the spin-off? What's the spin-off of nuclear energy? I said, well, nuclear energy is fantastic, darling, except the waste product is so incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, very toxic.
You know, it's so toxic.
Where do they store it? Where are you going to place this, you know, byproduct that you can't avoid making? And I think a lot of
it... And they're going to have to. They're going to have to go to... I don't think they've got any choice. I mean, unless they promote solar
or wind and all that sort of hydroelectric. It's harder because doing things like that, it's still going to create emissions in this. You have to build the batteries. You have to, you know, do all that sort of thing. I think having things electrically powered is going to be a better way to go. But then you think, well, what's fueling our power stations right now? It's coal, you know. So there's no really way, even looking at it like that. How do they make the steel that goes in the batteries? They need coking coal to forge the steel, you know. So the people that are going, coal, it's so bad. It's like, well, I agree that everyone should want to have a sustainable environment for future generations. We don't want to hurt the planet.
We do need it there for our great
definitely. You want it, everyone naturally is going to, you know.
You would be crazy if you thought, I'll live for me and don't worry about living for anybody else, because you love your son and you love your grandson.
That's exactly right.
And you love your great-grandson. So you want them to be on this planet.
That's right. And that's what most people are like as well. You do get the occasional person that's going to go the Scrooge McDuck of the world and go, fuck everybody, and you know, I'm number one and that's all that matters. But for the most part, people want to do that. But those people, even though their intention is pure, they're not. I don't think they're aware of the fact that any way you look at it, coal is still not only plays an important part in our economy. It's integral to our economy right now. It's still going to be there in some form to do the things that we need to do if you want to continue to do today.
It just annoyed me a little bit when Albanese and the new Greens leader say, well, from at 2050 we'll be totally emissions free. Well, please tell me how's it? Trains can't get food from here to here. You need trucks.
Yep.
I don't care where you go. You need trucks.
That's right.
Now, are they going to be able to develop solar trucks or whatever?
I believe so, or electric powered at least.
But are they? Because like those big diesel engines are so powerful to pull up hills and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Sure, they might be able to do that. You know.
I think so.
Great if they can, but I mean, I got my doubts. I don't know whether they're going to have the technology or how much is it going to cost to have something as powerful as a semi-trailer to be able to take food to Woolworths at Burke.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. I think electrically, I mean, I can sort of comment a little bit. Being an electrician, it's going to come down to how efficient your battery is, because obviously you can't just have something plugged into it. You're travelling from A to B. So it's going to come down to the capacity of your battery in there. And at the moment, technology for batteries has been pretty limited. Over the last 15 years, it hasn't really gone forward.
A long way.
None, yeah. If very minuscule sort of little sort of add-ons to it, you know what I mean? But there hasn't been any great leaps forward. I think it's only recently, but they're starting to talk about some sort of new fuel, I believe.
Okay.
It's sort of, that they'll be able to use, and I couldn't tell you the science of it all, but in essence, it's just going to make batteries a lot more productive. Yeah.
And efficient?
Efficient, pretty much, yeah. So potentially, you know, they might never find a battery, or that might just be infeasible to put all these batteries into a truck and then have all this weight on the truck and go, well, where are we going to put the stuff we're moving, you know?
That's
that
right.
might just never be something that happens, and you have to have diesel-powered trucks, but there might be, like you said, that one person in China born today that goes, I'm going to think of this. They're making batteries like this. Why don't we make them like this? Oh, no.
Exactly.
They've got, an infinite amount of power from this battery, and it'll run to...
Your whole powertrain might be different. The whole thing, they might be able to put a different form of gas, whether it be hydrogen or whatever, into the tyres to make them more efficient to run as well, and all that type of thing. But like you can't jump into your car at Blacktown, a Prius, a Toyota Prius, and drive to Burke.
No, that's right. You'd have to stop and fill up on the way. That's
I don't know whether it'd get to Bathurst.
Yeah. Oh, for an electric, you mean, or petrol? Or
no, electric.
Electric,
a Toyota Prius.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not talking about a hybrid. I'm talking about like a pure
proper electric
car.
Yeah, right.
You've been invited to a wedding at Burke. How do you get there?
Yeah, you can't,
or
can you? Yeah.
If you get to Burke, can you get back to Nyngan?
Yeah.
Or do you run out of fuel?
You probably just wouldn't go, would you, I suppose? Those type of people is just city bound, and that's all they can really afford to be,
Yes, but I mean, it's well and good sort of saying, battery's the way to go, if they can't make them work.
That's right, yeah.
I think it's easy to just say, and remember that neither of those two men are going to be here in Parliament in 2050.
That's right.
So it's disappointing when they say this is our goal. This is what's going to be.
Yeah,
there's a lot of difference between a goal and what's going to be.
That's exactly right. But I think the problem with politicians is what they're doing is they're pandering to the audience. You know, if I say to you, this is definitely the way it's going to go, you're going to have more confidence in me. Whereas if I say, look, it could be, which is realistic to say, you don't know by 2050. It's
a bit more negative.
They always sell the empty promises. They might intend to actually do them or not, and something might come up. Some would, I imagine, but a lot of them get away with it because
I think that something will be invented. But I'm just still thinking, gee, does that mean that the Arab world will then just be totally broke?
Yeah, well, what happens to the oil industry? What happens to the coal mining industry that supports so many small communities, Gulgong being one. So
it becomes a ghost town.
Exactly right,
And what about Saudi Arabia? What about those places that rely on oil?
Yeah.
Then again, what did they do before
the oil? Yeah,
before the
exactly
oil,
right.
But it was draconian, wasn't it? Your cart was driven by a horse or a bullock or a goat or whatever. Do we go back to those days? Is that what we go back to?
I think
and
some
then people
would
say,
oh,
that's cruel. You can't unhitch that bullock. That's being cruel. You're hitting it with a whip to go up the
That's right.
So you're still not going to please people.
You'll never please everyone, I reckon, Bruce. Even if you're walking down the street, you'll look at someone funny, wrong way, and they'll be up in arms about it.
Don't look at me like that.
That's right. I think you got to be realistic. Again, it's like anything. You say, well, it's all well and good. Yes, we want a sustainable future, and coal is pretty dirty. Fossil fuels and all that, but present an alternative then. What is it that we're going to replace this infrastructure with?
That's right. Don't say this is what we're going to get rid of. Tell me what the alternative is.
That's right.
Don't say, we're going to stop coal mining.
Yeah.
Tell me what your alternative. Okay, right. If you're going to say, okay, by 2030 we'll shut down all the coal and we'll open up all uranium mines.
Yep.
Okay, right.
There we go.
At
We've
least,
got an alternative.
At least you've given us an alternative.
Yep.
Say, but you then alternative. Okay, where are you going to dump the waste?
Yep.
No good saying, oh well, we'll think about it. No, that's all part. That's all part of the deal. If you're going to go,
if you're going to switch over, you need a plan thought out, and it needs to be better than the current plan. You know, there's no point going backwards, is there?
No. Are you going to? I mean, Australia. We're lucky, I suppose, in a way. The centre of Australia is a huge, and it's Aboriginal, but the centre of Australia, I'm sure there'd be an area out there, whether it be Woomera or one of those places, that they could build a holding facility for toxic fuel.
They could, but then what happens with it then? Does it just stay there? You know, what do we do with it eventually? Do we just store it until...
I don't know.
That's a tricky part of it.
Until in 2293... the kid that was born in 20 years prior has come up for a use to be able to use that uranium. That's a good point as well. There's something they discovered. Oh, hold on, you can use this half-life product to do something completely different. So
you really don't know, do you?
But at least give us a story. Give us a true story on this is what we're going to build this facility, and it's going to be shipped out there. And hope to Christ that the trucks that are taking it there don't have an accident.
Yeah, that's a problem as well. That's exactly right. It all comes into play.
It all needs to spill. What are the other countries doing? What's Russia doing? What's Japan doing? They must be dumping their nuclear.
They'd have to be doing it somewhere.
Japan's only a little island.
That's exactly right. They'd have to have some sort of above board way. I'm not sure about Russia to an extent because that's a bit shady what they do sometimes. Maybe not shady, but secretive. They don't really show their hand. You know what I mean?
That's a much better word.
But Japan is sort of a bit more open with what they do. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you what they do. But we had a power station here in Sydney, did we not? A nuclear.
Lucas Heights.
Lucas Heights. That's the
one. And I'm sure it's still working.
I'm pretty sure it is. But with their waste, I heard rumours. I heard rumours that were putting it under. Like the inner eastern suburbs, they're just dumping it underground. I don't know how true that is. That's just a rumour I've sort of heard through the grapevine.
And maybe that works as long as it doesn't form a leaching process.
Yeah, that's it. Or goes through the soil and does something to us where, there's 40,000 cancer patients in this small suburb. 20 years from now, you don't really know, do you? But like you said, if you have a plan and it seems like, well, this is going to be the best option for all of us.
That would be to me, I think, if I was a... what do we call ourselves? The people for nuclear power.
Yeah,
that's my new...
Like a lobbyist.
That's my new... Like, instead of being a Greens, I'm the lobbyist for...
or ambassador or something, if you will.
Nuclear power. And that's like Pauline Hanson is, or Clive Palmer, One Nation. Anyway, and my idea is, okay, we're going to be, as of the 1st of January 2030, we're going to be totally nuclear efficient, and this is where we're going to place it, and this is how we're going to store it. And I think, well, there's something positive. I think we'll vote for that party.
That's right, yeah. And I think that's what people do, they've done in the past 10 years as well, is listen to these people that have been in power that have said, we're going to fix this and we're going to do this and do all these wonderful things. And then once they get in, nothing happens, and it's business as usual. I think that's why a lot of the public in America as well, but I'll go off my Australia, are frustrated with leadership currently because they can see that there's no effort, there's no love in what Scott Morrison is doing for this country, to leave your people in their time of need and go overseas on a holiday with your family to Hawaii and then come back and try to visit these small towns that have been affected and shake hands and kiss babies. It's like, what kind of reception do you expect, mate?
That's right. And that the RFS fellow that buddy told Scott Morrison what he thought of it.
That's right.
He's probably said it in a state of frustration.
He would have been sleep deprived and all those things he's gone through, saving houses and stuff, exhausted.
I don't know. I'm not sure if you have. I mean, my temper at times gets to the fuse.
I think we're all human. We all experience anger to some.
And I've said things that I've regretted saying. How do you take them back? How do you say sorry to somebody? Do they accept your apology, or they say,
you've got to say sorry anyway, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
If you mean it.
If you mean it. But I could also understand somebody not accepting the apology.
That's right. Well, you don't say sorry you shouldn't say sorry just to get, that's okay, for forgiveness,
Yeah.
If you forgive yourself for doing it, and by apologising, that's a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I've apologised for people before in the past, and again, same thing. You say something in the heat of the moment that you regret, and you come back later and go, oh, I'm sorry for saying that. I've had times where people go, don't worry about it. I've had times where people go, well, no, it's too much. Like, this is just going to be it. And you sort of go, oh, well, okay, that sucks a little bit. But if that's what you believe you've got to do, then so be it. Yeah.
And you think, well, mate, that was my fault for saying that.
That's right.
I could have thought more carefully about it, but those words come out in the heat of the moment.
That's right.
And if they're not going to accept my apology, you can't say, oh, well, I don't like you for that.
That's right.
Even if they're saying they don't like you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
You think, well,
that's your choice, isn't it? Then, mate. Yeah, exactly right.
You've made your bed. You've said what you shouldn't have said.
Yep. And they don't. And it was too much for them to forgive you for at that time. They might come back in a year 5, 10, and will say, yeah, we're all good now, mate, under the bridge. But for them at that time, it just made me like, well, what you said really hurt me, or I'm a big believer of actions speak louder louder than words as well. So it's one thing for me to call old mate a fuckwit, but if I go bash up his car or something like that, that's the next level above, and that's a lot harder to forgive for something.
Because you did say that, but then you've taken action again.
That's right.
So you really believe
that's
it is.
Right. Yeah,
you can't ask for forgiveness then.
No, well, it's a lot harder to. Some people do, and they change their ways, and and all that sort of thing. But I think in the terms of in a way of Scott Morrison doing what he did, it wasn't just words. It was more the action of him leaving the country and sort of us turning around.
It was poor judgment.
It was
poor judgment from a person that is the leader of a very important country.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they all are. They've all got people in them. So but I don't believe he is for the people.
Right.
And everyone. There's probably people out there that disagree with me, but I try to follow politics fairly closely. And just even before all this stuff's happened, and during it as well, he's had a lot of opportunities to do something with it. And, he could have come back from Hawaii and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pledge X amount of dollars to all the people that lost their homes. They're going to have this amount each. We're going to set up a fund for the people that are affected by it. The people that lost their lives are going to get compensated in some sort of way as well. And we're going to go about it doing this way, Don't care what the fucking budget is. This is something you put your people first, and these are your people suffering.
That's right. And go back to the Parliament and say, okay, this is what we've done for the people. And okay, we promised the budget to be back in by 21. It's not going to happen because we're putting our people first unforeseen circumstances. Yep. And I'm sure that you would be very happy with that situation.
I would be as a citizen of the country.
That's what you should be saying to the opposition or to the other people that what have you done anything differently to what I've just suggested?
That's exactly right.
So, and they would end up with a lot more credibility.
But you know what he did? He didn't do that straight away. He did it eventually. He came out with the $2 billion fund for people, which is good in itself, But he had that chance to do it straight up, and I think the only reason he did that is because of all the backlash he received from people that live in this great nation.
Just come forward and say, this is what we're going to do.
That's what a leader needs to be. They need to be the people it's not about the money or the power. It's about what can I do today that's going to help everyone in this country. And if we're going through a tough time, then we all ride through it together. And if we're going through a great time, then we all get to experience the beauty and the wonder of this great nation we live in. But
we do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the people that are in power are those people that have got there through way of money or, who they know I sort of try to think, I do think that sometimes it's a little bit set up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That they've sort of a plan in place and then they can go, well, if we move this person here and, House of Cards sort of style one, the whole thing will topple. Exactly right, whether that's true or not, I don't know enough about it to comment, but I believe there's some sort of, corruption or some sort of backdoor shady sort of stuff going on,
I think it starts
right there.
Starts in town.
Yeah, at your local, money talks.
At your local level, mate. I reckon that's why there's so many councils that are found to be corrupt.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that all those councils that are dismissed are corrupt people, but I think that they've got a chance to become that way, even if it's just accepting a small bribe or accepting something. I'll get that through. Where normally I wouldn't be able to get it through.
Well, that's what probably most of it would be, because if I can come up to you and say, Brucey, you're in charge of Gulgong here, and I know you've been really wanting to repair the roads. The roads have been stuck for 20 years. Everyone complains about it. I'll give you $20,000. You'll be able to repair them all, and you'll have a little bit left over to do whatever you want. All I'm asking for you is to, when this bill comes through, that's going to let, whatever it is, be built out over yonder, you tick that off, you know?
Yep.
And that's, okay, all right, no worries. So he's doing
You
that to everyone.
my back, I'll scratch
exactly
yours,
right.
Still...
And it's the system itself. You can't get around the way it is with money and that. You can't really get around it. That temptation nowadays is always going to be there if you're in that position of power. But it's a matter of...
It must be so easy.
It would be, yeah, for sure. Especially in that situation, you're doing it out of pure intention. You're doing it to help the people of your community, you know? And in the long run, that might be... It might hurt you, but at the time you think, I could... You know, you see in the small picture, you go, I could fix all these roads, you know, that's going to be great. I'm going to be the best bloke in town, you know? And people are, it's great. They've been asking about these roads for years, you know? But then in 10 years' time, you go, fuck that, you know, that bloody whatever, they put a wind farm out there and it's so loud and everyone's moved out because it was too loud, you know?
Yeah, and I signed off on that.
Exactly right. But you got to live with that then too, don't you? You know, then that's your decision. You thought it was the right thing at the time for whatever reason, and you turn back. You can't predict.
You know, but there was always a bit iffy there, wasn't there? You know,
that's right.
Oh well, you know, I didn't really want to go there. I would have liked just got the roads up and running and not be anything hanging over my head.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. Yeah.
So I know it's just like we're just going to give you that money, and you're going to spend the whole lot on getting your roads right.
Yep.
You know, but there's no other avenues of that you've got to do this or got to do that.
That's right. Yeah. No. What do they call them? Like conditions. Like you have to do this for us. Exactly. Right. I think we all face decisions like that in our day-to-day life. You know, we have the choice. Temptation's always available. Yep. But if we come back to having a pure intention and weighing up all options and making what we think is the best decision at that time on those two things.
That's all you can ever do.
That's all you can do, isn't it, Brucey?
And I think it comes from granddad, grandma, mum, dad.
Oh, definitely,
down the line too. Sure. And if you see that grandpa's always been a bludger and he just gets money out of the government, and mum and dad have done the same thing, you won't know any different.
That's right. But some people, that spurs in them to go, I don't want to be like that.
That's right. Some people does.
Yeah.
It does.
But you're right. Some people would they fall into that naturally because that's just business as usual.
Well, that's what the kids see, so they assume that's the norm.
Yep, that's right. Until they get older and they go, oh, hold on, there's this whole other world out there. You don't have to be a dull bludger. You could be an astronaut. You can be a physicist. You can be a garbage man. Whatever you want to.
Yeah, well, I can go into the army or whatever the case may be.
Exactly right.
You know, I'm going to be a mechanic in the army or whatever the case may be.
Whatever your dream is, you know, give it a crack.
And not just be, I've seen them do that and they've got nothing.
That's right.
I want something better than that.
Yeah, exactly right. Gives you that drive, that fire in your belly. Yeah, 100%. Well, on that note, Brucey, we might wrap it up. I think we've been going for just under an hour and a half.
2.5 hours, mate.
That flew by, I reckon, mate. But I'll show you here, mate. It's a pleasure having you on, Brucey.
It was really good, mate. Really good. Yeah, as I say, I wasn't sure, you know what, but as I say, we just let subjects flow.
You just let it happen,
and let it happen, and you can edit what you want out of it.
No, so the way I'll do it is I'll just leave it start to finish. Nothing gets chopped out.
Okay.
Once we get, like I said, I'll do that start bit. If it's sort of, I think we got into it pretty well often. Some people, like, it'll take maybe 5 or 10 minutes to sort of, I'll be asking questions, but the conversation's not really flowing yet. But when it does, I'll just chop that little bit out of the front.
But maybe with me, just find it that be comfortable with me. It's a sensible conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it was great talking to you, Brucey. You're a very well-learned individual. That's why I wanted to get you on, mate.
I'm not the brightest candle in the pack. But I feel that, you know, I've got a little bit of knowledge on some subjects.
Well, you're still switched on. I still think you're knowledgeable. And the thing I appreciate even more so than intelligence or anything like that is that outlook on life of what will be. Try your best and have a laugh while you're doing it. You know, just smile as we're all going through this bloody roller coaster. So I may as well smile for the photo as you get taken going past.
Be on the top and
that's right. Enjoy it. Hey,
enjoy it, mate. Enjoy the whole thing. You know,
100%.
Good on you.
Nah, good on you, Brucey. Thank you.
It was beautiful, mate.
Honest.
I just love all this. The stereo sounds.